This video is going to discuss the history of three remarkable jiu-jitsu athletes. The first one we're going to start with is Gianni Grippo, then we'll talk about Mica Galvão, and finally we'll talk about Gianni Grippo's instructor Marcelo Garcia.
We're going to talk about the career of one of modern jiu-jitsu's most technical and enduring competitors, Gianni Grippo. His story, it's not just about winning medals. It's really a masterclass in dedication, making tough choices, and the absolute relentless pursuit of evolution. But what if I told you that one of the greatest American grapplers didn't start on a wrestling map, but in an Olympic-sized swimming pool? You see, his story really begins with a choice, not just between two sports, but between two completely different worlds. One is a race against the clock, all about pure physical output. The other, well, it's a chess match against another person's spirit and soul. This is the story of that pivotal choice in a life dedicated to evolving. So before he was this world champion grappler, Grippo was, a machine in the water, a super disciplined young athlete with a crazy demanding schedule. He was on a very clear path to success. But another calling was about to change everything. You got to understand this level of discipline was baked into him from day one. His dad was a triathlete, so young Gianni was basically immersed in competitive sports. He excelled in the pool, qualifying for the Junior Olympics 3 times, and he even stepped in the ring for amateur boxing. But all of this was before he found the art that would truly define his life. So when he finally found jiu-jitsu, it wasn't what you might picture. No shiny mats, no big group of kids his age. Nope. His introduction was more like a trial by fire in a pretty legendary but, gritty New York basement. When Gianni and his father first walked into the Renzo Gracie Academy in New York City, it was a world away from the bright, clean world of a swimming competition. The environment itself, well, let's just say it presented its own unique set of challenges. Okay, just picture this for a second. You're 10 years old. You're the only kid in a room full of adults. The building itself is kind of intimidating, situated right above a drug clinic, and he had no one, literally no one his own size to train with. His early years were all just private lessons. This is the kind of place where you find out real quick if you actually want it. So what gives? Why would a kid choose this tough, kind of lonely environment over a promising Olympic swimming career? Well, it all comes down to one trip to Brazil back in 2004, where he saw a legendary match that just changed everything. He's there watching two absolute legends go at it. He sees Jacare fight on even after his arm gets broken. And that was it. That was the spark. He realized jiu-jitsu wasn't just a sport. It was a pure battle of will. He literally quit swimming the very next day and decided to go all in. So, let's fast forward to 2012. Grippo is now a force to be reckoned with, a dominant world champ at the lower belts, a true product of the Renzo Gracie system. But he started to feel a shift. The sport was evolving fast, and he knew that to stay on top, he was going to have to make an incredibly difficult choice. Now, to get why his next move was so huge, you have to understand something about BJJ culture. Your team, it's like your family. Leaving isn't just changing jerseys, it's a big, big deal. And what he did next, it definitely sent some shockwaves through the very tight-knit New York BJJ scene. Why do it? Why leave? He had the medals, he had his home gym where he basically grew up, and a clear path forward, but he felt something was missing. He saw the technical tide of the sport turning and knew he needed something different to reach that absolute highest level. So even with people criticizing him, he made the jump. He switched camps to go train with another legend, Marcelo Garcia. He was looking for a training room that was laser focused on where the modern sport was headed. It was a huge bet, really, a bet on his own evolution. And did that bet pay off? Oh, yeah. Under Marcelo, his game just flourished. He became one of the leading figures of what people called the Baron Bolo generation. That wave of competitor with those incredibly complex and innovative guard attacks. But here's the thing that made him so unique. It wasn't just what he did on the mat, it was his entire approach to life. He started treating his body like a high-performance system. He adopted a plant-based diet for better energy and recovery. And get this, he even took up rock climbing and bouldering to develop those vice-like grips that he's so famous for now. Every little edge mattered. Okay, so he's a champion. He's figured it all out, right? Well, not exactly. As a veteran black belt, Grippo faced maybe his biggest challenge yet, having the humility to admit that the very methods that made him a champion might now be holding him back. See, for years, he was known as the repetition king. He was a huge advocate for drilling moves thousands and thousands of times to build that muscle memory. But as he got older, life happens, he had more responsibilities, he realized he needed a more efficient and sustainable approach if he wanted to stay at the very top. So what did he do? He essentially moved from a system of memorization to a system of adaptation. He traded hours of that repetitive, no-resistance drilling for a method that was all about creating live problem-solving games and training. It was way more productive and a heck of a lot more time efficient. And here's what that looks like in practice. To improve his wrestling, instead of just drilling a move, he'd start every single training round from a specific position like an underhook. The game was to get his opponent's hands or hips to the mat. See, it's about learning to solve problems under live pressure, not just memorizing the answer. So here is a quick summary of ideas we can gather from Gianni. 1. He recommends a complete 180 in training methodology by replacing traditional repetitive drilling with ecological games that utilize live resistance to discover functional options faster than mindless repetition. 2. He advocates for unique cross-training like rock climbing and bouldering to develop the vice-like grip strength and analytical problem-solving skills necessary for elite grappling. 3. To maximize recovery and longevity, Gianni follows a strict plant-based, vegan diet inspired by Tom Brady, which he credits for significant improvements in his endurance and energy levels. 4. This is a bonus tip. His mental preparation involves visualizing negative scenarios and then imagining oneself calmly turning those situations into positives, rather than just picturing a perfect match where everything goes right. So today, when you look at Gianni Grippo competing on the global stage of one championship, you're really seeing a bridge between the old school and the new. His entire career, from that kid in the swimming pool to right now, has been about one thing: constant, intelligent adaptation. His journey really proves that longevity in a demanding sport like jiu-jitsu isn't just about raw talent or even just hard work. It's about the willingness to change. It's about having the courage to leave your comfort zone, and maybe, most importantly, the humility to start over. Ultimately, his story shows that success isn't some static destination you just arrive at. It's a dynamic, constant process of evolution. And that's a lesson that applies way beyond the grappling mats, right? It kind of makes you wonder what part of your own process is ready for an upgrade. And that's the lesson Gianni Grippo leaves us with. Success is a dynamic, constant process of evolution. But what happens when that process starts from birth? What happens when you take that same relentless focus and apply it to a child who has never known a life outside the mats? To find out, we have to travel from the basements of New York to the heart of the Amazon. At the age of 13, his father pulled him from school so that he could train jiu-jitsu full-time.
Imagine dedicating your entire life to a single grueling pursuit starting at just 4 years old. Your childhood and adolescence are forged in the fires of a singular obsession until the unthinkable happens. You reach the absolute, undisputed pinnacle of the world while your prefrontal cortex is still under construction. In 2024, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu prodigy named Mica Galvão pulled off a super grand slam run that effectively broke the matrix of modern grappling. This is the story of a focused, relentless experiment designed to create the perfect grappler. To understand the man, you have to understand the environment. Mica was raised in the neighborhood of Cidade Nova in Manaus, Brazil, a geographic pressure cooker, legendary for breeding physically tough grapplers. The architect of this success was his father, Mica Galvão, a former police investigator who brought the tactical foresight of high-stakes law enforcement to their garage gym. When Mica was 13, Mica pulled him out of school to train full-time. While neighbors called him reckless, Mica famously told doubters, "No champion loves my son more than I do." This placed a staggering psychological weight on Mica to justify his father's sacrifice. This wasn't a hobby. From day one, The mat was his playground, and the language he learned was Jiu-Jitsu. So to really understand the champion he is today, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. And we're not just talking about his first day of training. We're talking about a singular, focused experiment designed to create the perfect grappler. When you look at this timeline, you realize pretty quick this was not your average after-school practice. This was a system. His father, Melky, made this huge gamble, pulling Mica out of a normal school when he was just 13 years old to dedicate every single waking moment to jiu-jitsu. It was a massive all-in bet on his son's potential, and the weight of that bet, man, it was immense. This wasn't just a coach training a student. This was profound sacrifice. It was fueled by this completely unshakable belief. While other people probably thought he was crazy, his father saw the future, and he was willing to sell literally everything they owned to make it happen. So that brings us back to the question, how does a teenager physically dominate grown men? Well, it wasn't just raw talent. He had developed a very specific technical innovation that gave him an almost unfair advantage, a weapon that he had honed to absolute perfection. So meet the shotgun armbar. And yeah, the name is cool, but the mechanics behind it are even cooler. See, this isn't your standard run-of-the-mill armbar. It's a total re-engineering of the move. By using this deep overhook grip, he creates a much higher fulcrum on his opponent's shoulder. And that tiny change, it dramatically amplifies the leverage from his hips, creating this braking pressure that even stronger, more experienced guys just can't stop. Let's break it down. The real magic is in that overhook. By controlling the arm above the elbow, he can get his hips way higher than in a traditional armbar. And what does that do? It completely kills the opponent's posture and their ability to rotate out and defend. It creates this extreme angle on the elbow joint that opponents just aren't used to dealing with. It's such a subtle adjustment, but the results are devastatingly effective. This is the kind of stuff that separates the good from the truly legendary. In 2019, that was the year the entire world just snapped to attention. You had a 15-year-old kid who wasn't just hanging with black belts. He was finishing them over and over with his signature move. He went from being a promising prodigy to a legitimate threat to literally anyone on the planet. And it felt like it happened overnight. But you know how these stories go. Every meteoric rise faces some serious turbulence. After reaching the absolute pinnacle of the sport at just 18, Mica's journey was about to hit its darkest and most challenging chapter yet. In 2022, right after becoming the youngest IBJJF world champion in history, disaster struck. He tested positive for a banned substance. The ruling was swift and clear. He was stripped of his title and got a 1-year suspension. Now, the explanation given was that it came from a prescribed medication, and they just failed to file the right paperwork. USADA itself even noted it was a therapeutic dose. Damage to his reputation was already done. In his own words, Mica points to a mistake born from being young and naive. He was a young athlete who put his trust in the adults around him without fully understanding the consequences. It was a really brutal lesson in all the responsibilities that come with being an elite competitor. And as if the whole scandal wasn't enough, he then suffers a horrible injury. But this is where the story turns. Instead of breaking him, these trials forged something way stronger. They forged a mindset built not on just collecting dozens of techniques, but on achieving true, deep, undeniable mastery. His father's philosophy, the one they built everything on, was actually incredibly simple but profound. Forget trying to learn 100 different moves. Instead, master just one single technique per month. That's it. That's the core of their entire system. Deep, obsessive focus over wide, shallow ambition. And okay, this is the blueprint. This is how he turned that philosophy into a process anyone can follow. The key takeaway here is to apply what you learn immediately. He says if you learn a new move on a Monday and you don't even try it until Friday, you've already lost it. That obsessive focus, one move a month, is how innovations like the shotgun armbar are born. It's not magic, it's a system of deep learning that, in just 5 years, gives you an arsenal of 60 perfected weapons. Think about that. So, After the suspension was served and that knee was finally healed, the mission for 2024 became crystal clear. And this right here is where one of the most dominant runs we have ever seen in grappling begins. Look, he didn't just ease back into competition, he kicked the door clean off the hinges. At the IBJJF European Championship in January, he made his intentions known. This wasn't just another tournament for him. It was the very first stop on a year-long quest to leave absolutely no doubt about who was the best in the world. And that brings us to one of the rarest feats in our sport, the Jiu-Jitsu Grand Slam. Now, just for some context, winning just one of these tournaments is a career-defining moment. Winning all four in the same year? That's almost unthinkable. Just look at this timeline. It's basically a world tour of destruction. January, Paris. March, Florida. Brazil, the Brasileiros. June, the World Championship in California. He literally crisscrossed the globe, took on the best fighters on 3 different continents, and just systematically conquered them all. A perfect season. But here's the crazy part. He didn't just win, he absolutely dominated. Across the 16 matches it took to win those 4 major titles, he submitted his opponent 13 times. You have to understand, at this elite level, matches are usually super strategic, razor-thin battles that get decided by a single advantage point. To be finishing over 80% of your opponents, it's almost unheard of. He wasn't playing for points, he was hunting for the finish every single time, and this just shows you how hard that final step was. For Worlds, he dropped down to the lightweight division, which is an absolute shark tank. His final was against Andy Murasaki, a guy who has been in the World Finals multiple times and is famous for having a nearly impassable guard. But Mica was just methodical. He used this relentless pressure passing to completely shut down Murasaki's A-game. It showed a strategic maturity that was way beyond his years, and he reclaimed the one title that he had won and then lost 2 years before. So, with the Gi Grand Slam secured, you'd think that's it, right? Mission accomplished? Well, there was only one peak left to climb. The Mount Everest of grappling, the No-Gi ADCC World Championships, which only happens once every 2 years. And just look at this path to gold. He started with a submission, then had to navigate a total minefield against 2 of the toughest veterans in the game. Leg lock specialist Oliver Taza and the wrestling powerhouse PJ Barch. Then in the final, he's up against the legendary Wagner Rocha, a man known for his grit and that aggressive, in-your-face style. And what happens? Mica finds the submission again, cementing his place at the very top of the no-gi world. When he won ADCC, it was a very emotional time for him. He said the following statement.
First message goes to you. I know that I'm not the best son or sometimes the son that you deserve, but I promise that I'll try my best to, be the son that you truly raised and wanted me to be.
Then he thanked his girlfriend for showing up for him after she had just won the Olympics. And with that victory at ADCC, he achieved something truly historic. They call it the Super Grand Slam, and it's so unbelievably difficult to do that he is only the second person in the entire history of the sport to ever pull it off. A perfect year across both gi and no-gi, cementing one of the greatest single-year performances we have ever witnessed. Period. You see, after having the sport he loved ripped away from him, his whole mindset shifted. He wasn't just chasing medals anymore. He was driven by this deep, genuine appreciation for just being able to be on the mat to compete. He was enjoying every single second of the journey he almost lost forever. Now, an achievement like that doesn't just happen by accident. It's the product of a very deliberate, almost philosophical approach to getting better. So you gotta ask the question, how does someone this young get so good so fast? What's the secret? Well, it turns out it's a philosophy of learning that pretty much anyone can apply. And what's so wild about Mica's advice is how simple it is. It's not some hidden complex secret. It's about being a sponge for knowledge, no matter who it's coming from. It's about immediately trying to put what you learn into practice so it actually sticks And it's about this constant, almost obsessive cycle of practice and review. It's just relentless, disciplined consistency. And this quote right here, from advice his father often gives him, this is the key. In a world that's obsessed with learning 1,000 flashy moves, their philosophy is all about deep, profound mastery of just a few. Think about it. Imagine mastering just 12 new techniques in a year. In 5 years, you'd have an arsenal of 60 totally bulletproof weapons. And that is how you build a champion. You know, Mica's story is just this powerful testament to the power of focus. And that kind of leaves us with a question for ourselves, doesn't it? What will be your one thing to master this month?
In 5 years, you'd have an arsenal of 60 perfected weapons. That is how you build a champion like Mica Galvão. But before there was a shotgun armbar, a modern X-guard, or a berimbolo generation, there was one man who proved that a 170-pound grappler could conquer giants using nothing but pure technical genius. To understand where the modern game truly began, we have to look at the man who paved the way for everyone we've talked about today. Today, we're going to learn about how Marcelo Garcia impacted Jiu-Jitsu in a huge way.
Let's get right into it. We're going to talk about a man who didn't just play the game of submission grappling, he completely revolutionized it. I mean, he changed everything. And that man is Marcelo Garcia. You know, people throw around the term pound for pound greatest of all time. But for this guy, it's not just hype. He is absolutely in that conversation, and trust me, the numbers more than back it up. Think about this. 4 times he won the ADCC World Championship. Now, for anyone who might not know, that is the Olympics of submission grappling. It's pure, raw, technical skill. Winning it once makes you a legend. 4 times, that's just a whole other level. He also won the IBJJF Championship 5 times. We're talking about the most prestigious tournament on the planet. So, yeah, he proved his system worked everywhere against everyone, no matter the rule set. So, the real question is, how did this guy who competed at just 77 kilos, that's about 170 pounds, just tear through the world's best grapplers? I mean, some of these guys were absolute giants next to him. Well, the answer isn't just that he won. It was how he won. He faced a straight-up hit list of legends year after year. So let's set the stage. We're going back to 2003 ADCC in Brazil. Marcelo Garcia, well, nobody really knew who he was. He wasn't even supposed to be there. He gets in as a last-minute replacement. A total unknown. And what's his reward for showing up? They throw him right into the fire. I'm talking a murderer's row of established icons right from the very beginning. His first match was against a name that is practically grappling royalty. First up, Renzo Gracie. Yeah, that Renzo Gracie. A pillar of the legendary Gracie family. I mean, the guy is a living legend. And what does the unknown Marcelo do? He puts on an absolute clinic. He just completely dominated. He unveiled this style that nobody had really seen before at that level, while everyone else was playing a slower, grinding top game. Marcelo was all about explosive attacks from the bottom, using the X-guard and these lightning-fast arm drags to get straight to the back. He basically neutralized an icon. So he gets past Renzo, and who's next? Oh, you know, just Vita Shaolin Hivero. Only a 3-time world champ, and another one of the pound-for-pound greats. No big deal, right? Well, for this match, Marcelo decided he didn't want to wait for the judges. And boom, he snatches his back and sinks in that signature rear naked choke. This was the birth of his whole system that he'd become famous for. He didn't just win his division, they named him most technical fighter of the entire tournament. A star wasn't just born, a new era had begun. Okay, fast forward to 2 years, to ADCC 2005 now. If 2003 was when the world found out who Marcelo Garcia was, 2005 was the year he became a full-blown legend This is where he really proved that amazing technique doesn't just level the playing field, it can conquer any size advantage. And he did it in the absolute division. You know, the one where there are no weight classes. It's where all the division winners, big and small, go to battle it out. And Marcelo was about to face a true giant. Just look at this matchup. On one side you have Marcelo, our 77 kilo champion, and on the other, Rico Rodriguez, a former UFC heavyweight champion and ADCC champion in his own right. This wasn't just a tough match. This was the definition of David versus Goliath on the mats. And the result? Pure genius. Marcelo didn't try to out-muscle him. He used his innovative guard to get underneath the bigger man, control his legs, and then he locks up a shocking heel hook for the submission. It was one of the most replayed, most iconic moments in the history of the sport for sure. Okay, so by 2007, the secret is out. Everybody on the planet knows Marcelo's game. They know the arm drag is coming. They know the back take is coming. People are literally drilling day and night just to stop it. So, what does Marcelo do? He evolves. I mean, what do you do when everyone on earth knows your best move? Well, if you're Marcelo Garcia, you just invent new ones. If they won't give you their back, fine. He'll just find a way to choke you from the front. The man refused to be figured out. One of those new weapons was the north-south choke. It's this absolutely efficient choke where you just use pure pressure from your arm and torso to finish the fight. He didn't just get good at it, he perfected it. And he even used it to win the 2007 ADCC final against his big rival Pablo Popovich. And then there was the guillotine. But he didn't just use a regular one. He developed his own high-wrist version. That was so tight and so fast that they had to give it its own name, the Marcelotine. It was just brutally effective, and he used it to tap out the next generation of superstars, including none other than Prone Gracie in 2009. I mean, just take a look at this list. This is just a snapshot of the killers he submitted at ADCC. Vitor Ribeiro, Shinya Aoki, Rico Rodriguez, Pablo Popovich, Prone Gracie, Leo Vieira. Every single name on this list is a legend, and Marcelo didn't just beat them, he found a way to finish them. So in 2011, he does it again, wins his fourth ADCC title. An absolutely mind-boggling achievement, and then he just steps away. Right at the absolute peak of his powers, he decides to focus on teaching. But it turns out his toughest fight wasn't on the mats. After a decade away, he faced a life-threatening battle with stomach cancer. He fought it with that same incredible champion spirit he always showed. And in a testament to his unbelievable will, he overcame it and then made an inspiring return to the sport. It's just an incredible story of resilience. So when you really look back, what's Marcelo Garcia's ultimate legacy? It's easy to just point to the titles and the medals, and there are a lot of them, but it's so much bigger than that. It's the fact that he greatly impacted what modern grappling looks like today. Think about it. The arm drag to the back take, the modern butterfly guard, X guard, the seatbelt grip, the north-south choke, the Marcelotine. These aren't just moves he did. These are now embedded into Jiu-Jitsu. They're taught in gyms all over the world. He didn't just play the game better than everyone else. He changed the rules of how it was played. So, in the end, Marcelo's story isn't just about winning medals. It's a masterclass in how one person with a creative way of looking at problems can change everything. And it kind of leaves us with a question for ourselves, doesn't it? In our own lives, what's the problem that we're ready to solve by just looking at it a little differently?
Every like and subscribe is appreciated. And if you want to watch a highlight video of this athlete, go ahead and click this video right here so you can watch it on my other channel. Or if you're interested in learning about a different athlete, then you can click on the other video. Thanks. Bye.